Parents on Reddit, what was your I raised an idiot moment? He knew there was a frozen pizza in the garage but couldn't find it. Didn't even think to check the freezer. My cousin got busted with weed at school in her locker. When the cops came she said IWAS and going to smoke it. I just sell it face palm. When they mistook a leaky radiator hose for smoke. No problem, it kind of looks the same. They continued to drive the car home thinking it was on fire, then pulled it into the garage that is attached to the house. I don't think he an idiot, but I think he lacks common sense because he'll take a bite of food, it will be scalding hot. He'll cry and act like he dying, but when spit out, he'll say mommy it hot. And I'll say well I told you to. Wait for it to cool down, or then blow on it or something to that effect. He will say no, and then continue taking scalding hot bites and crying that it's too hot. In his defense, his father the same way. At age 15, at the market, she was asked to get a large chicken, and she came back with a turkey. When I asked her to return the turkey and get a large chicken, she revealed that she thought that turkeys were literally adult chickens, and that chickens were young turkeys. As parents, we try to teach our kids everything they need to know, but it's hard to see the gap sometimes. I haven't, and I hope I don't have to. But my dad said almost exactly that line in reference to my brother. My dad told me about a conversation they had that went like this. As best I remember, when his third child was born and looked nothing like him, I told him he should get a DNA test, and he told me he wished he could but it was too late. I asked what he meant and he said by now all the DNA would have mixed and there would be no way to tell who the child's father was. After I explained how DNA works to him, he still didn't believe me. When I asked him why he wouldn't just try on the off chance I was right, that rather than being on the hook for child support for a child he had literally seen for 12 hours total over the first year of its life, he said it's just 21 more years anyhow, why waste my time? I heard a noise in my kitchen and I went in there and there was flour all over the floor and all over my kid, and he was like not me, but I think it probably was him. 3-year-old is preparing for his bath. His underwear looks strange but I'm distracted. His brother. Kid takes off one pair of underwear, then a second pair, then a third. I ask why he is wearing 3 pairs of underwear. Kid looks at me like I'm an idiot. Mom told me to put on a clean pair every day. That no noticed the kid grew up to place the highest in math in our large Midwestern city. But even in his 20s, you have to make sure you give clear instructions as he will follow rules to the letter. Edit. All great, my best comment, and I'll probably delete it. I would never want my kids to see it and believe I really think he is an idiot. Edit 2. My wife works in education and specializes in autism. Not autistic. I'm sure we could have found someone to make a spectrum diagnosis, but we, especially my wife, saw no advantage in doing so. She is as wary of the educational industrial complex almost as much as Eisenhower was of the military industry. And for crying loud, a 3-year-old doesn't need a bath every day. Are you people serious? Anything more frequent than a week was unheard of until 50 years ago and beyond the first world. This is still the case. Feel free to do with yours what you wish. Now teenagers could use 2 baths per day. Teenager smell. My 13-year-old son was sniffing really hard and moving his head all around the area he was standing in. Slightly concerned he had lost his mind, I asked him what he was doing. He told me, I farted. I'm trying to smell it all up, so you don't have to smell it. He's a thoughtful idiot. I had my sister text my mom that she forgot her phone at home. I'm the idiot. I registered for college and spelled my middle name wrong, but didn't notice for 4 years since they always abbreviated to my initial. I was showing my parents my diploma before walking on graduation day and my mom just stared at me like I was special. Bonus points, I actually thought that was how it was spelled. We need to leave. Sent him to put on socks. Waited more than enough. Go find him, he's in his room, wearing only underwear, playing with Legos. He can't remember what I sent him after. Edit. I was away and didn't expect this much attention. Since people are asking, I think he was about 8 at the time. I can definitely imagine him repeatedly getting distracted by toys, then guessing what he was supposed to do. Oh yeah, change shirt, take that off. Oh Haley goes. It's not anything that I'd have medicated, and he has improved. He still couldn't find his butt with a bell on it, but I suppose he'll grow out of that too. I'm a parent, but my children are brilliant angels who can do no wrong /s. This is my mother's favorite story about me. When I was about 2, I climbed up on my sister's crib, jumped off and said, "Look mommy, I'm swimming." Of course I started bawling as I hit the floor. A neighbor came over, thin walls, hearing screaming, asks what's wrong, what happened, etc. I stop crying and tell her no, I show you, and proceeded to swim again. Edit. Thank you for both the silver and gold award. I was not expecting this to blow up like it did. Here's another one for you. When I was about 5 or 6, I didn't know the difference between on purpose and on purpose. Me, with my smart thinking, said on purpose thinking it meant better than on accident. I got my butt whooped and put on the corner. I learned that day. P.S. I did hit the girl on purpose. I just wanted to get away with it. Edit 2. Well, since you all like those stories, I've got a few more. First story. I was in the 4th grade, so around 9 years old. A bunch of punks were bullying me for being short. I stand now 4'9". With full confidence I told them, say what you want to me. My dad says I'm a wannabe, not understanding what that meant. That was actually a good day. Ha. Story 2. When I was about 7 or so, they had just finished building a new Dollar Tree. You know, the store where everything is $1. Well, I thought that meant anything was just $1. I really wanted a laptop and wouldn't shut up about buying one of the dollar store. Yeah, definitely not an idiot, but I love this story about my kid. I used to pay the guy who took care of the yard for me by writing a check, putting it in a baggie, and sticking it under the mat. One weekend I was on the phone while writing the check, so I asked my son to put the check in the baggie under the mat for me. I went on with the conversation and forgot about it. A few days later, the guy who takes care of the lawn calls me up and says he looked everywhere but can find the check. While we are talking, I open the door and lift up the mat, and no check. He says, "You are really great customers." So I was surprised that the check was in there. I was surprised too. I look around, behind bushes, under a decoration, no check. Then, I try to think like my son. I look under the mat inside the front door, and there the check. We still laugh about it. When my son was disappointed by sex ed class, he thought they were going to learn some moves. My dad moment was when I made him drive around with me because my car had been making a thunk noise every time I made a turn. After 15 minutes he announced it was the baseball bat in my trunk rolling around. Edit. My revenge 20 years later was helping him figure out the rattle in his car. It was his sunglasses he put in his built-in sunglass holder. When one of my daughters tries to insult the other by telling her how ugly she is. They identical twins. My son came to our house to visit. He didn't live with us. We weren't home, but we on our way home, so he let himself in. We walk in and he's freaking out about breaking our newly adopted cat or something to that effect. I asked him what was she doing. She looked fine to me. He said she was vibrating when she sat on his lap. This is where he learned about cats purring. He hadn't been around a lot of cats, so IDK. Edit. I'm so glad others have experienced this. He is definitely not an idiot, but some of the things he comes up with has us shaking our head. My brother couldn't remember the proper name for shoes, so he called them foothouses. Mom confirmed that day that at least one of her teenage children was a bit doughy up top. When I asked my 14-year-old if she could please bring me a piece of cake, she cut it, forgot why, then ate it. A couple of weeks ago, our chihuahua was horny and trying to bone his sister. I said to husband that the dog reminded me of a frustrated teen lad and he needs a cold shower. 20 minutes later, 17-year-old walks in holding a distraught and dripping dog, wrapped in a towel. He'd overheard the conversation and literally put him in a cold shower. In March, in the UK, I swear to God, raising this kid is like painting by numbers, and every so often he goes dramatically over the lines. My 14-year-old soon went into a dressing room to try on 5 pairs of pants. After waiting 15 minutes and yelling twice into the men's dressing room to see if was okay, he admitted he could find the shorts he had worn in. He gave me 3 pairs of the pants and still could and find them. I finally had to go into the stall to look. They were balled up in the leg of one of the pair of pants. It was extremely noticeable. He swore he took his shorts off before trying on any of the pants, so he didn't think to look in them. I was speechless. He in the gifted and talented program in our school district. I used to tell my kids not to take off their shoes and socks in the car, especially on short trips. Just leave them on so that we don't have to spend 5 minutes finding and putting them back on before we run into the store. Imagine a single dad with 2 young kids running around the car trying to reshoe my children in the grocery store parking lot in the middle of an Arizona summer. Yuck. One day we went to the store and my daughter was missing her shoe. It was nowhere to be found. Daddy, I didn't want you to be mad that my shoe was off, so I threw it out the window. Made sense to a 5-year-old, I guess. When my oldest was 11, I was letting him stay up with me and my roommate. He's from my first marriage. I hadn't met my wife yet and was still a messy bachelor with a kid, so He's 11, right? Need to be clear about this. He's 11. We're watching Colbert Report and Steven says something happening in Congress politics, whatever, is as likely as writing legislation with Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, or the Easter Bunny. I chuckle at the dumb joke, only half paying attention. My kid sits up and says, "Wait, Dad, what did he just say?" "What was? Can you explain that?" I'm thinking maybe he's confused about the politics, so I say these two powerful politicians aren't getting along. He says, "Yeah, no, right, okay, so what else did he say again?" By this point my roommate, who had been pretty much staring at his laptop, ignoring the TV and the two of us, starts watching us closely. So I say, "Yeah, so that's as unlikely as meeting Santa Claus." Yeah, or the Tooth Fairy." "Yeah, right, or the Easter Bunny." WWWWWHHHAAAATT. My roommate lets out one small chuckle. I'm staring at him, a bit dumbfounded. Finally I ask, "Buddy, did you still think there was a rabbit who snuck into the house and had eggs?" My roommate starts snickering. I'm just staring with a bewildered look. Kiddo is slumping down into the couch, angry teardrops welling up in his eyes. I don't know if he was embarrassed, mad at my roommate for laughing, or pissed off because he learned the Easter Bunny wasn't real in such a silly way. He already informed me that he knew Santa Claus was just the parents about, I don't know, 4 years earlier, so I thought we were cool. As I tucked him in that night, he explained, "I just figured he stopped coming because I'm too old."